your treehouse artwork today, you're going to get to, in theory, build your own treehouse, make it really all designed, and also make it look three-dimensional. Let's get started. I'm going to start with my smaller piece of paper. You're probably going to use a larger one. And while I'm going to start with Sharpie, you should be tracing very lightly with pencil. The first thing you want to do is start by laying out where your ground is going to be, because you might actually want to put some decorations on the ground, right? And so I'm going to draw kind of a swervy line towards the bottom of my artwork for my land. Your tree is going to be growing out of your land in the center so that you have room up top for your tree house. And the tree is going to grow up from the land, and it's going to start to branch out so that it can support your tree house. Maybe a little bit of a line in the center so that it looks like it's really supporting the whole tree house and it's not going to fall down. It almost looks like a crazy Y or someone with their arms held out. Next, you're going to take your tracer and you're going to place it right in the crook or the inside of where those branches would be theoretically holding it up. Right, then when you trace around, this is going to become the front of your tree house, and it's going to help us make our 3D shape. Right, again, you got to hold it really tight with your helper hand. Okay, there we go. This is going to become the front of our tree house. Now, we're going to make our tree house look three-dimensional. So the next step that I'm going to do is identify the corners of my square to turn it into a cube. I'm going to make them go diagonal back, 1, 2, 3. And I don't need to do this one because that would be coming behind the tree house. Next, when you connect your lines, you need to make sure that you're going pretty straight across, mirroring, right, the one that you've traced. So this line right here, I'm just going to mirror it and come right up here. And it almost looks like a parallelogram on top. All right, the same thing, I'm going to go straight down with this line to mirror what my line is right here. Other lines that you draw for your treehouse are also going to mirror that, but everything else on the front is going to be flat. Let me show you what I mean. All the details on the front of my treehouse are facing front, so they can be flat. However, the rest of the details at the side of my treehouse need to go back into space and mirror my lines that I drew for my cube. That's called perspective. Can you all try to say perspective? Perspective is the realistic view of where you are standing, right? And it shows depth that goes back into space. So like things like height, width, length produce depth, meaning how it goes back into space. So in order to do this, it sounds very complicated, but it's really not. I'm going to just keep mirroring my lines that I have here diagonally. And I want my wooden details to line up. So I'm kind of going right from the wood that I have on my front, and I'm drawing a diagonal line back. You could also put things like, I'm going to put one window in here just so you can see. If I'm going to do a window, I'm going to mirror my line here, but do 2 lines down. Again, it looks kind of like a parallelogram, right? Draw my details inside, almost like a little skylight, right? And it looks sideways, but it's actually incorrect perspective. The same thing at the top of my artwork. I actually think I'm going to do a skylight. I think that's a good idea. So I'm going to mirror my line here, mirror my line here on this side and on top. And it, again, looks like a parallelogram, right? Because that's correct perspective. Draw this around. And finally, when I do my lines, I'm going to do them this way. And they're going to go diagonal again because the cube is coming sideways, right? So when you do the details of your treehouse, have fun with it. Do you want to do wooden details? What cool windows? What cool signs? Are you going to have different toys sticking out of it? Think about what you want your treehouse to look like, and we'll look at some ideas. The last step is going to be to draw the branches around it, and then just kind of details on the ground as you would like it. You also need a mode to get up your treehouse. Do you have a tree swing? Do you have a rope? Do you have actual stairs? Do you have a ladder, right? So these are all details you want to think about. I'm going to draw some skinnier branches kind of coming out from behind my treehouse, right? And I want the branches to come, and again, they should look like Ys, right? The letter Y over and over again. That's how branches grow naturally, right? With branches growing out from each other. And then when you do the leaves, you don't want to just be a crazy leaf and scribbly mess all over your artwork. You really want to plan carefully and thoughtfully what lines you want for your tree, and then to draw some leaf details, right? So that it looks a little bit more realistic, that we can identify this massive space, right, as part of the tree. Next, I'm going to keep going with my leaves, and then I'm going to fast forward to my ladder. As you can see, I added some more leaf details, and then I'm going to do the ladder, and you can do some decorations on the bottom. I think that I'm going to do a hanging ladder on the tree. You could also do a mounted ladder on the tree. It's really up to you, right? So I'm going to make my curvy lines hanging down so you can tell that this is a hanging ladder.